You're watching XFA On Demand. Thanks.
Joining us in the XFA studios, Gary Alexander. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, man. You're back from overseas. Took a little trip to England.
Yeah, I was in the UK for about two weeks almost, and it was pretty cold and rainy.
You got to see some training camps over there and sort of get involved in the fight scene. And let's talk about all that, because you spent some time with one of my favorite fighters from the UFC, Michael Bisping.
Michael Bisping's camp was pretty outstanding, to be honest with you. I was at the Wolf's Lair for about 2 weeks. I spent 2 weeks in a house with Chet Congo, with Rampage Jackson, Paul Kelly, who was another Wolf's Lair fighter, Rico Rodriguez, former UFC heavyweight champ, and their manager, Anthony McGann, who is Bisping's manager. Bisping would come over periodically. The camp every day went pretty much like swimming in the morning or running in the morning. Break 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock was hardcore training. That's a long time period of training, and then they come back and do a night training as well. So the camp was pretty hardcore.
And UK training camps as well are on a very high level, and we'll actually get into that as we begin 3 rounds, which starts right now. The first round today that I want to discuss with you is Rampage Jackson and Wanderlei Silva. Rampage obviously had some problems legally. He went through a tough time there after his loss of his belt to Forrest Griffin, and he has since transitioned over to the UK and is focusing a lot of his training there. Why do you think that is, and what are some things that you can tell us firsthand that Rampage is really experiencing and benefiting from being in the UK training?
No distractions. This guy is going to be able to sit down in a training camp, very similar to like he does in Big Bear, but he's getting challenged more. He's not bringing in his same group of guys that he always brings in to train with. He's getting challenged by new coaches. And over there in the UK, they treat everyone the same, all the way down from your new fighter all the way to Michael Bisping and Rampage Jackson.
And you think Rampage is focused? I mean, do you think that he's mentally ready for a man like Wanderlei Silva, who has given him a lot of problems in the past?
Well, during the 2-week period that I was there, the fight hadn't been announced. I kind of had an inkling that fight was going to happen. But when I talked to him about the possibilities of facing Wanderlei Silva, he did not blink. Didn't seem to waver at all. He doesn't seem to have any fears about facing him. I think that Rampage is more of a developed fighter now than he was back when he faced Wanderlei both times.
Another very interesting fight that's coming up, recently announced, is Fedor Emelianenko and Andrei Arlovski. It's going to be happening in January down in Anaheim at the Honda Center. The Affliction event that actually got postponed here in Las Vegas is going to be happening then, and it's really kind of a must-win for Affliction in the sense that they really needed Fedor on this card, and they really need a good showing on this card if they're going to remain a player in the game. But talk about this matchup and what you think is going to happen between Arlovski and Fedor.
Wow, Fedor Emelianenko is the most unbelievable fighter in the world. I'll be honest with you, I thought Tim Sylvia was going to give him some issues just because of reach, and I didn't see Fedor coming out and winning a 30-second, destruction of Tim Sylvia. I really didn't see that. I did pick him to win, but I didn't see that happening. As far as Andrei Arlovski, I personally think with Andrei Arlovski's Sambo training, he has more of a ground game, I think, than Sylvia ever will have. Sylvia's got good takedown defense, but Andrei Arlovski has a lot of Sambo experience, which obviously is one of Fedor's mainstays, is that Sambo game. You got a guy who can be knocked out. Andrei Arlovski's been knocked out. I know Fedor hits like a Mack truck. I'm not really sure what we're going to see from Fedor, because other than being very fast, very agile, very aggressive for such a small guy, I think personally he can make 205. Frank Trigg says no. I think Fedor can make 205. He's a very, very soft heavyweight. But why drop down? Why starve yourself whenever you're dominating guys that are in a lot better, physical looking condition and heavier and bigger than you?
Why I'm excited about this fight is because I think it's really going to be a challenge for Fedor, and obviously it's going to be a challenge for Arlovski. Arlovski reacts different ways to different opponents. When he's winning, and he's easily winning, he's a monster. He's flying knees and big overhands. I mean, he does a lot of impressive things that the fans like, and that makes his wins very impressive. However, when things aren't going so well for Arlovski, he tends to kind of shut down, and he has to get over that hump if he's going to beat somebody like Fedor, because Fedor is ruthless, and he's aggressive, and he doesn't give up mentally. He's a very tough, strong opponent when it comes to the mental game. So I think that this matchup is going to be interesting, and especially if it goes into later rounds, we're really going to see a very clear winner, I think. Round 3 right now, and this one, of course, is the fight that I'm looking forward to the most this year. It's Randy Couture and Brock Lesnar. November 15th here in Las Vegas. It's UFC 91, and this is another one of those fights where you go, if one of these guys loses, where do they go from here, and how in the hell is this fight actually going to go? And it's impossible to answer, but let's talk about it a little bit. First and foremost, I'm going to stick it to you. Who do you think's going to win this fight?
Wow. I just spoke with Randy about maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and Randy said he's halfway through his camp. He's feeling great. He feels like he's on track to peaking at the right time. He looked a little small to me, but but you know what? Maybe that's a sign of great conditioning. Maybe we're seeing a guy who's not concentrating so much on being strong and bulking up to whether he can match somebody. Maybe Randy has a specific strategy. Maybe he needs to be more agile, a quicker opponent, somebody who's maybe not going to be able to just lay on the bottom and push Brock off of him. Maybe he's got a different plan. I don't know. I do find it hard for anyone in the heavyweight division to be able to outmaneuver Brock, to just outmuscle him. Randy's going to have to use really what he does best, which is strategic planning and execution to beat this guy. My curiosity of this is obviously Randy's best weapon is the cage, I think. He uses the cage really well, pushes guys up against the cage, and usually gets them on the ground, is on top, and pounds these guys. He really knows how to keep top position and not get submitted. My question about Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, is, well, how will he react if he's on his back? And I know most people out there probably say, well, there's no way Brock's going to be on his back. Don't be surprised if Brock Lesnar is on the bottom and Randy Couture is on top, and we'll have to see how that scenario plays out. I
just hope that it goes into the later rounds. I would love to see 4 or 5 rounds of Randy Couture and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, that would be, I think that would be what's best for the sport.
Yeah. If
Randy comes out and if I'm not mistaken, I think this is his last contract on his fight. Last fight on his contract.
Right, yeah.
So I think that if Randy comes out, dominates this guy, taps him, or gets a TKO quickly, then I think he probably moves on to face the winner of Arlovski and Fedor in Affliction. That would be what my prediction would be. But if he loses, I don't really see the fight being able to be built up between Fedor and Randy Couture.
You're watching XFA On Demand, brought to you by